These video cassette recorders, or VCRs, are under fire from a federal appeals court in San Francisco. To date, the video recorders bring pleasure to 3 million home and business owners. But for Universal Studios and Disney Productions who filed the suit, the use of home video equipment is a copyright infringement. The television filmmakers are concerned about people recording television shows and selling the dubs for profit. The appeals court suggested that an injunction be issued against the manufacture and sale of the machines, and that could mean taking VCRs out of homes. In his opinion, VCR salesman Ken Smith says he can't see that ever taking place.
For one thing, it's not enforceable. People would literally have to go from home to home and check every night. I just can't see that happening. I don't think that'll happen.
The other suggestion made by the three-man appeals court is a royalty charge paid by the manufacturer of home video recorders to owners of TV shows.
I think down the road we're going to see manufacturers having to pay a royalty. At least this is a good possibility if the Supreme Court in any way backs up this decision, which will end up the manufacturer's price to me will go up, and of course I'll have to pass that on to ultimately to the consumer.
But Smith adds that VCRs are used more by the homeowner for viewing rented or purchased tapes of movies than for recording them off the air. The federal court ruling is not yet in effect and may not be for several months. The issue could go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
Earlier this week, PATCO President Robert Poli met with the House Post Office and Civil Service Committee to once again discuss ending the air traffic controller strike.
Get the controllers back to work, and the system can be returned to a state of normalcy.
Traffic controllers have been on strike since August 3rd, but now there is talk that they might be allowed to go back to their jobs. Congressman John Conyers from Michigan has introduced a bill that would legalize strikes by federal employees. So far, the committee has failed to take any action on the measure, but if it should pass, the bill would be retroactive. That means PATCO members would be within their rights to strike against the government, and once the strike was settled, they would be able to go back to work. But would they? According to a spokesman for the local PATCO union, Linda Solomon.
Well, they would go back to work, of course, if there were a settlement, and probably what would happen that there would be some sort of a negotiated contract, and we would go back to work pending voting on it. That's probably what would happen. But if it looked favorable, if Robert Poli advised us that it was a good contract and told us to go back to work and then let us vote on it, then most probably we would go back to work. Now Congress is getting some sort of pressure from the businessmen and from general aviation pilots who are suffering because of this. And as the weather becomes bad, as the holidays come close and the airlines need to fly people, that's what's pushing for a settlement, because they realize they can't go on like this for another 2 years.
The bill has been in committee for almost 3 months already, and officials aren't saying how long it'll be before action will be taken. Two sources in Washington told Channel 6 that they think the bill's chances are slim at best, and PATCO members here say they agree. In Beaumont, Lynn Sue Glass, Channel 6 News.
We had contacted Southwestern Bell. Basically, this is an all-purpose emergency number, and the 911 number would be available to all citizens within the city of Beaumont, and it would mean that if they needed the police, if they needed an ambulance, fire, or really any emergency that they would be calling in, the number that everyone would only have to remember is the 911 number.
The 911 emergency number would cost the city about $600 a month to maintain. In addition, there are several other benefits that can be derived from the emergency number.
If, for example, somebody called in of some other type of emergency call where there may have been some panic on the other end of the phone, and maybe even the person panicked and hung up the phone, the 911 call, they can electronically track that number immediately. And so based on the kind of call, there could be many other benefits that could come to the people in the community just as a result of being able to immediately track that call back.
If the city decides to go ahead with the 911 emergency number, they say it won't be in operation for at least a couple of years. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
Last May on Channel 6 News, we aired a special series of reports that reviewed the performance of the paramedic company and other private ambulance companies in Beaumont. During our 5-month investigation, city records show paramedic was not available to answer emergency calls on 72 different occasions, totaling more than 30 days. Paramedic failed to notify fire department dispatchers of their correct status 110 times. The resulting delays in dispatching ambulances in Beaumont are life-threatening, according to medical experts. Our probe found several complaints against paramedic from citizens who said the company refused to transport them because they did not have cash on hand. One such case involved a quadriplegic child who was hemorrhaging, but city logs show paramedic refused the emergency run because it involved a Medicaid payment. City Manager Ray Riley has said repeatedly that the proposed EMS system would and must provide state-of-the-art quality medical care, something emergency physicians told us is lacking in Beaumont.
What we need is the chance. We need the chance to be able to take that person and give them a chance to live.
Are you saying then that in many cases perhaps victims are not being given that chance in Beaumont?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no standard uniform quality that we can depend upon.
Yet when we talked with paramedic about the urgent need for updating ambulance care in Beaumont, here were Mrs. Guillory's comments then.
Beaumont, we don't need to start IVs out here in the field. The time it's going to take to get a sterile field, you could have a patient at a hospital while they have all the equipment.
600 high school seniors in the Beaumont Independent School District came to the Civic Center this morning, not for entertainment, but for the first BISD Career Day, an endeavor designed to link students with representatives of local business and industry. The program gives pupils a chance to investigate different career opportunities or cement career decisions that have already been made. Beaumont Mayor Maury Myers told the audience that now is the best time to find a job in Beaumont. He said our region is prospering and there are tremendous job, cultural, and recreational opportunities here. Dr. John Hoyle, a professor of education at Texas A&M University, told the audience that 170,000 new jobs must be created in Texas each year until the next century. He said the collective productivity of individuals filling needed positions will help put our world and national economies back in order. When the meeting concluded, the students worked on putting their own world in order by investigating booths where representatives of business and industry explain their professions. Chamber of Commerce Director Dennis Setterholm says opportunities are vast for skilled workers.
I think the unskilled people have some problems, but overall we're going to see the industrial growth here from within 14% in terms of jobs in the next 5 years. And that doesn't count anything coming from the outside, so I think it's very optimistic.
The 600 Beaumont seniors were told that 16 of the 19 major industries in the United States are located within the Golden Triangle. Naturally, many seniors are unsure of the course they will take in the future, but they have a wide variety of opportunities here in the Golden Triangle. Scott Lawrence, Channel 6 News.
Walking is how Barry Sloan makes his living. His is no ordinary walk, though. It's a slow, easy gait, and his feet never touch the ground. Is it scary?
No. If you worry about it, then...
Barry Sloan is the stilt man in the Clyde Beatty Cole Brothers Circus in Orange. He's been walking on stilts since he could walk on the ground. Stilt walking is a Sloan family tradition.
My son is following in my footsteps as well. He's 18. My wife does it as well.
Why do you like it?
I can't really say why, because it's all I know, really. I don't know any other profession or anything. It's all I've done all my life. My father before me and his father before him.
The stilts are 12 feet from the ground to Barry's ankles. They're made of spruce wood. Sloan says the wood has to be light enough, otherwise he can't lift the stilts with his legs. Barry's long stilts are light, but even so, he still has accidents.
I'd like to have $1 for every time I have fallen. I fell 3 weeks ago, but we was on a muddy lot. I didn't hurt myself. I just scratched my face up because I fell in the, like the stubble of the field we was in. The time before that, I fell in Los Angeles, California, and spent 4.5 months in hospital.
I guess just about anything can be said about any kind of profession. But here for Mr. Sloan at the Clyde Beatty Cole Brothers Circus in Orange, I guess you could say his profession is walking tall. 12 feet up in the air in Orange at the circus, Karen Hayes, Channel 6 News.
Prosecutor Carol Wilburn ended the state's case with testimony from Vicki Daniels' 13-year-old daughter from another marriage, Kimberly Moore. After previous testimony from 16 other witnesses, courtroom observers heard for the first time, according to the teenager, that Vicki Daniel threatened to shoot Price Daniel Jr. moments before he was fatally wounded. She also said they had been quarreling earlier, and she had pushed Price Jr. off of her mother at least twice. She said she didn't see or hear the shots fired. The youngster had told a different story earlier because she said she was scared. When she told defense attorney Jack Zimmerman, she changed her story when she took a lie detector test. The defense attorney asked for a mistrial on the grounds the lie detector statement would prejudice the jury. Today, Judge Leonard Giblin denied the motion, ruling the statement would not prejudice the jury to the point where Vicki Daniel could not receive a fair trial. The judge did, however, give the defense until next week to prepare its case. When we asked the Houston lawyer about possible defense witnesses, he replied,
"I may not have to put on any."
Zimmerman added that will be the case if the defense team comes to the conclusion that the state has failed to convince jurors of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
I was going to a meeting and saw them all fly by. That's why I ran on over. So I'm going to... Yeah, all I have is wrong with what to say. I've got to start at 16th and Highway 87. That's according to the Orange Sheriff.
According to the Chase Econometrics forecast, Beaumont will add more than 60,000 new jobs for people over the next 10 years. This puts Beaumont 11th on a list with 108 other cities. Houston is ranked number 1. But Beaumont has seen higher places on the industrial growth scale. In 1978, Money Magazine placed Beaumont on the top of the list. In '79, Chase Econometrics ranked Beaumont number 5. So why has this area's growth potential slipped down a few notches? Lamar economics professor Charles Hawkins explains.
Well, the movement from number 1 that occurred several years ago to number 11 simply means that in looking at other areas of the United States, these areas have become potentially better suited for industrial expansion than the Beaumont economy. But the simple movement from 11 or from 1 to 11 in no way diminishes the availability of land sites in Beaumont or the adequacy of our resources. It means that we are very high up on the priority scale in the United States, so that we are a very good location.
Dr. Hawkins went on to say that this area needs to increase its industrial base. He says we've relied on the petrochemical industry for jobs here for many years now, and perhaps it's time to go after other industries to broaden that base. Friday, we'll talk to the Chamber of Commerce here to find out how Beaumont industry can expand. In Beaumont, Karen Hayes, Channel 6 News.
We're going to utilize the mailing addresses of the water department, and that's slightly under 21,000 water customers. And in addition, we'll be utilizing 1 or 2 city employees to deliver them directly to some of the large apartment complexes in the city, because of the fact that most of these apartment renters don't receive water bills. They're paid by the apartment complex itself.
Traffic on the highways has increased. Liquor sales have always been consistently high. The number of traffic fatalities across the state and in Jefferson County continued to climb. There are more and more drunk drivers. This time last year, 12 accidents involving drunk drivers left 13 dead in the county. To date, 19 accidents involving intoxicated drivers have left 23 dead. Due to recent state legislation, laws governing drunk driving cases will be softer as of January 1st. A first offense for driving while intoxicated will mean probation, a fine, but no license revocation. The laws right now would take your license away. And then there are the juries.
When you have 13 people on a jury panel, that's the type of panel you'd have for a DWI first offense. We've had as many as 4 of those people that had someone in their family that had some trouble with DWI. So you can see the prejudicial standpoint we start from.
McGrath adds that of 1,143 DWI cases in 1980, 881 persons received probation with fines or jail time. 259 cases were dismissed for lesser punishment, usually high fines, and 3 cases were acquitted. With 50% of the fatal accidents on highways involving drinking drivers, Department of Public Safety officers say they're alarmed but are unable to do more about the problem because of manpower shortages.
Until we get an increase in personnel to where we can many times have more than one car out in the entire county in a night, you're not going to do a lot of deterrent to drunk drivers in Jefferson County.
Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
For the first time in its history, the South Park School District is under a court-ordered desegregation plan whose chief element is the forced busing of students. That forced busing has prompted parents to remove some students and place them in private schools. But the vast majority of families within the district are abiding by the court order, although many are unhappy with it. Dennis Thomas is unhappy with forced busing, but he believes action speaks louder than words. So he's sponsoring a petition that will be sent to Congressman Don Edwards, who is chairing a House subcommittee examining a proposed amendment to the Constitution which, if passed, would prohibit courts from assigning any student to any school on the basis of race, religion, or national origin. To date, that petition has been signed by more than 2,000 parents.
I want to state emphatically that this is not a racial issue. Once again, we get back to the issue. It is forced busing. I have a copy of the court order, and I've studied it and read it, and a number of times I see that the judge has claimed in there that forced busing is mandatory. We're going to have it. Force indicates something where we're dealing with coercion, something against the will of the people. I have yet to date met anyone, personally, in private or publicly, spoken to anyone who wants forced busing.
Today, Channel 6 spoke with a congressional official who told us the proposed amendment would be retroactive, meaning it would apply to school districts such as South Park, which are already under court-ordered desegregation plans. The official told us the bill could come up for a vote in November, and he says the bill could pass, but the vote would be very close. And passage would require a 2/3 vote by the Senate as well. But before any vote, the South Park court order calls for a bond issue to build a new high school or renovate an existing high school. Tonight, the board will meet at 7:30 to set a date for the proposed $30 million bond issue. Scott Lawrence, Channel 6 News.
Apparently, not many Port Arthur residents are taking advantage of their first opportunity to vote since 1977. Janet Stroder, Assistant City Secretary, explains.
Absentee voting has been going on for about a week now. How would you say turnout has been?
I think turn has been low.
Why has it been low?
I just feel maybe that the people are confused. They just don't know what it's all about. The districts that they're in, people, councilmen to vote for, or the system itself. I think they're confused.
Stroder said that judging from past elections, about 1,000 people should have voted absentee by now, but the latest count showed only 415 ballots had been received. Stroder said absentee voting might pick up next week if citizens become clearer on how the system works.
We have received calls as to where do I vote, who may I vote for, what district am I in, that type of calls.
Well, if you're also finding the new voting plan confusing, you're not sure just who's running, Channel 6 will be taking a look at the candidates for mayor starting on Monday. We'll also be introducing you to those contenders for council seats later on in the week. In Port Arthur, Lynn Sue Glass, Channel 6 News.
It's been 9 years since taxpayers in the South Park School District approved a bond issue for capital improvements. Tuesday, November 24th, voters will pass judgment on a $30 million bond issue approved by trustees, a bond issue which has encountered mixed sentiment in the community. The major component of the bond issue is a $20 million high school to be built in a central location within the district. Funds would also be allocated for a vocational technical school. Hebert or South Park would be used for that purpose. Many voters are against the bond issue while favoring the magnet concept. However, Superintendent Mike Taylor told Channel 6 News today that both issues are directly related.
I would need a new high school really to make the magnet work at the high school level, and I need to do some, that's kind of where we'd start, and then we go downward, and it'd be very, very difficult to make the magnet school work without the bond issue.
Taylor also told us if the bond issue is approved and Judge Parker approves the magnet concept, he hopes to return to a 4 middle school system to relieve the present overcrowding. That might entail making South Park High School a middle school. Although these elements are sure to cause concern among some parents, Taylor says he knows of no unsuccessful bond issues in the recent South Park school history.
The last bond issue, I believe, was in 1972, approximately 9 years ago. And it was successful. And if my memory serves me correctly, the school districts never had an unsuccessful bond issue. The patrons have always supported the facility improvement for children.
Scott Lawrence, Channel 6 News. From ping pong balls to buses carrying children to their first day of school, the South Park School District has reached the third milestone in this year of unprecedented change.
Scott, at our board meeting last evening, the board unanimously passed a resolution to offer the patrons of our school district a $30 million bond issue for capital improvement in the South Park District.
That November 24th bond issue is based upon a 2-high-school system, Forest Park in the west end and a new high school in the south end to replace Hebert and South Park. If the bond issue passes, one of those facilities would become a vocational school. These are the projects contained in the bond issue. $1 million to purchase land for a new high school. The new $20 million high school in the south end to replace Hebert and South Park. $3 million would be allocated to transforming one of those schools into a vocational technical facility. Other schools would receive additions or remodeling. Forest Park would be given a new $3 million auditorium. $3 million would also be allocated to other facilities for remodeling purposes. The total cost of all projects contained in the November 24th bond issue is $30 million. Feelings surrounding the bond issue are mixed, but many parents don't realize that Judge Parker's court order places the high schools in each feeder by random selection, so there is no guarantee that children will remain in their present high school next year.
I would vote for the bond issue because I can offer it without a tax increase. And I think I would vote for it in case my child were to go there. I'd want my child to have equal or good facilities at the high school level.
The bond issue is indirectly linked to the magnet concept many parents desire. If the bond issue passes, Forest Park would probably become a liberal fine arts magnet, and the new high school would become an engineering technical magnet. If the bond issue fails, the magnet concept would be extremely difficult to implement. Today, Taylor also told me Odom and another school would become middle school magnets. He will present these proposals to the Justice Department in Washington Tuesday. He told me he will probably ask Judge Parker to amend his court order in 2 ways. First, he will ask that Marshall again become a middle school, joining Odom and Vincent. South Park could also become a middle school, thus creating a 4 middle school system and relieving overcrowding. Taylor will also ask Parker to retain the present 3 high schools for at least 2 more years, until a new school is built or an existing school is remodeled. Parker's order calls for a 2 high school system next year. Scott Lawrence, Channel 6 News.
Within the last decade, Beaumont has been an attractive place for new industry. The area has prospered in the field of petrochemicals, but over the last 3 years, Beaumont has gone from the #1 city for job growth potential to #11. Yesterday, Lamar economics professor Charles Hawkins told us that industry here should be more diverse. Today, we asked Beaumont Chamber of Commerce President Dennis Setterholm why he thinks Beaumont's job growth potential spot has moved down to #11.
Econometrics as being more realistic. I don't think Beaumont was ever #1 in the country in terms of job growth. We probably have the potential to be better than 11, but not #1.
A lot of people look to the Chamber of Commerce as the sole unit that promotes industrial growth here. And a lot of people think that the Chamber of Commerce could possibly do a better job at promoting industrial growth. How do you feel about that?
I'd agree with both statements. I think we have to do a better job. There's tremendous competition throughout the country for new industry and new jobs. Yes, we are the organization that does promote economic growth, and yes, we must do a better job.
Setterholm says the Chamber of Commerce is working harder to become more aggressive. He says over the last 6 months, they've stepped up their marketing to try to promote more diverse industry here. Setterholm pointed out that labor management disputes are one of the biggest turnoffs for prospective businesses. He says that until these problems are worked out, Beaumont's economy won't grow as much as it could. In Beaumont, Karen Hayes, Channel 6 News.
About 5 months ago, this agency, Orange Christian Services, joined forces with each of the county, state, and United-funded agencies in the city. Christian Services, which assists the needy with clothes, food, and financial aid, decided it would be a good idea for all of the agencies to know where certain clients could find specific services. Since it was already organized, the social programs didn't suffer on October 1st when Family Emergency Services was cut.
We're just very fortunate that it fell at the right time, because with the cut of family services, the burden of screening clients and knowing where to refer them has fallen back to us, and now we're just real fortunate that we do know where to send them now.
It is here at Red Cross that 13 social service groups meet once a month to discuss sample cases, clients who have specific needs, thereby alleviating duplication of requested services. And further cutting out referral fatigue, a problem that means sending a client to the wrong agency for needed services and then having to refer the client onto another agency.
We are familiar with what other services are available from other agencies, so we are not having the problem with referral fatigue. We pretty well know exactly what agency to send which client to.
But Brown adds that fatigue is felt in Orange Christian Services' workload. The Emergency Helping Center, supported primarily by 15-member churches, handles the needs of up to 60 families a month. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
Where he graduated in 1962 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Sociology. And this time he's a member of the
#1, I'll be accessible to the people at all times. And #2, I'll give them the fairest deal possible before my court. Thank you very much.
It was a fashion extravaganza at the Port Arthur Civic Center today. 600 or more, mostly females, packed the house to take a peek at what today's girl is wearing. Styles ranged from casual to classic, from conservative to something a bit more radical. Dryden's designer Con Trussell began the show with a capsule look at fashion, starting with Adam and Eve, and even added dancers. Judging from the faces in the audience, it's clear that everybody saw something they liked today, including me. Well, if this glimpse of today's new styles has put you in the mood to perk up your wardrobe, all of these fashions and a lot more are now online at Dryden's. At the Port Arthur Civic Center, Lynn Sue Glass, Channel 6 News.
Under the big tops at the Sabine Riverworks plant, visitors like these Bridge City teachers and students are joining in the DuPont birthday party. On display are items made of DuPont products and handicrafts made by DuPont employees and their families. There is also a display that has made history. This is the Solar Challenger. The 217-pound aircraft is made of DuPont products and is powered by the sun. On July 7th of this year, the plane made history when Steve Potocnik flew it across the English Channel. The 5-hour, 230-mile flight was more than just a long ride.
Well, the first 3 hours were a lot of work. From a pilot standpoint. The airplane is very marginal in its power and climb, so you have to be very careful to fly the airplane coordinated and not to be slipping or skidding so you get the best performance. The last 2.5 hours were considerably easier. I was able just to sit and have a nice ride and look around at the scenery, see the White Cliffs of Dover go by.
A history-making pilot added the flight was a safe one. Suffering only a strange expression, we learned firsthand that DuPont emphasizes safety. There is also a display that shows what happens if your car is struck from the rear at 5 miles per hour. You can imagine what will happen at higher speeds. We were convinced. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
The Historical Commission will unveil and present the marker. With us, I believe. Is she with us today? And she's going to talk to us here just a minute.
He voted to give away the Panama Canal, and that, of course, ties in with other areas, and like he is against the sale of the AWACS surveillance plane to Saudi Arabia, which is absolutely essential for the defense of this country. We must keep those oil fields. This is a continuing pattern. He's voted to give 2 U.S. senators to Washington, D.C. That is not a state. And this is beginning, or would have, if it would pass, the first time in which a territory or something other than a state had representation in the U.S. Senate. There was no provisions for the House. It's just bad government, and it doesn't follow our governmental system at all.
Did you know it's daylight savings time tomorrow?
No, I didn't know that.
Hadn't really thought about it.
No, I sure didn't. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it would be that soon.
Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care?
Yes, I do.
What are you going to do with the extra hour?
Probably just forget about it. Sleep and enjoy myself.
Sleep.
Sleep. Sleep. Sleep. Sleep.
I just don't know. I don't have time to think fast or let's go. Time to look around. Just run around. Yes, I say. Does anybody really know what time it is?
Do you know if you move your clock forward or move it back?
Forward. Close as I come.
Forward?
Forward.
Back. Right? I think it's forward a little.
Spring forward in the you move forward in the fall and back in the back in the fall and forward in the spring. I got it.
Well, as you can see, today a lot of people just had trouble remembering that tomorrow's daylight savings time. And many of you might think it's kind of a bother just to go around your house setting back all those clocks and watches, but think of it this way. What would it be like if you had to switch the hands on that clock way up there? In downtown Beaumont, this is Karen Hayes, Channel 6 News.
Especially for us. She is called on to do the job. Dave Powell is sick. I looked the old devil in the eyes. No, Mr. Webb, but I'll tell you one thing. So, I want to report to her at this time, Commander. She is a star.
With Congress cutting our funds, and we do not have the help, and not keeping our veterans' hospitals up, our veterans will suffer greatly, as most of the veterans are up in the years, and they are on retirement pay. Most of them are on Social Security, and they have no other means for medical treatments other than the VA hospital. And it will be a great hardship for all veterans, particularly our DAV disabled American veterans, when our VA hospitals' funds are cut.
On November 3rd, Texas residents will be voting on Constitutional Amendment Number 4, which will create a mechanism for the permanent financing of water-related projects in Texas. The so-called water fund would be paid for, primarily, by 1/2 of the state budget surplus. One group, Water for Texas, is campaigning around the state for passage of that bill. Beaumont Mayor Maury Myers is a member of that group. But many other local officials oppose the bill, and now another group is throwing their hat into the ring. Area teachers are banding together to fight the bill because they say it would divert needed funds from education, already hard hit by Reagan budget cuts. The teachers have many allies, including State Senator Carl Parker, whom we spoke with earlier.
If we pass this plan and create a multi-billion-dollar fund at the expense of all other governmental services in Texas, it will end up transporting East Texas water away from East Texas.
Okay. Scott Lawrence, Channel 6 News. The South Park School District has been forced to implement massive changes this year. Those changes have aroused fear and anger in many parents. That's important because although most children have been assimilated into their feeder patterns, it is parents who will decide the outcome of the November 24th $30 million bond issue. And Superintendent Taylor knows it will take a broad-scaled campaign to convince residents of the need for the bond issue and the positive elements school officials believe it entails.
We have some people that are fairly upset about the whole thing, as well as some people thinking that we have facilities that are adequate, although they're old and they need refurbishing, that they're not sure they need to spend that much money on new classrooms.
Many of you may be unsure as to where any of the money will go. This is what it would be used for. The bond issue is based upon a two-high-school system, Forest Park in the West End and a new high school in the South End to replace Hebert and South Park. If the bond issue passes, one of those facilities would become a vocational school. These are the projects contained in the bond issue. $1 million to purchase the site for a new high school. $20 million for the new high school in the South End to replace Hebert and South Park. $3 million would be allocated for transforming one of those facilities into a vocational technical school. Other schools would receive additions or remodeling. Forest Park High School would be given a new $3 million auditorium. $3 million would also be allocated to other facilities for remodeling purposes. The total cost of all projects contained in the November 24th bond issue is $30 million. Scott Lawrence, Channel 6 News.
Attorney Jack Zimmerman began his defense for Vicki Daniel today by calling as his first witness the 34-year-old blonde defendant herself. Vicki Daniel began by testifying how she was raised in Baytown and moved to Liberty to take care of her sick mother. She went on to say how she met Price Daniel Jr. at the local Dairy Queen and they fell in love. The defense attorney had already brought out how she was from a poor family and he was from a wealthy family. With tears in her eyes, Vicki Daniel said she refused to marry Price Daniel Jr. the first time he asked because there were different kinds of people. She went on to say, however, that she finally said okay because she loved him. She went on to say while the courtship was beautiful with Price Daniel always giving her things, after their marriage things changed. She said he slapped her around, she had to have permission to have visitors over, and he even told her what television shows to watch and not to watch, and even what television sets in the house to watch. Vicki Daniel said she first filed for divorce a while back because she could no longer put up with her husband's abnormal sexual habits. She said, however, that it was election time and she withdrew that petition after being pressured by Daniel, his campaign manager, and his sister. Still on the witness stand late this afternoon, she said she filed for divorce again in December of 1980 because she feared Price Daniel Jr. was sexually abusing her children. From the Liberty County Courthouse, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Retired Seaman Robert Whitey Carr is conducting what he calls a word-of-mouth campaign. No posters, but he's more than willing to talk about his reasons for running. Carr has been a Port Arthur area resident since 1960. He's lived with his wife and 4 children in his Port Acres home the last 6 years, after his retirement with the Likes Brothers Shipping Company. Carr says he is primarily concerned with 2 issues, unemployment and collective bargaining. About hiring for the new Central Mall project,
I think before they issued that permit, they should have stipulated they hired local help. I found out one man was from Liberty and the other man was from Salisbury, and they didn't have anybody, from this area. There's plenty of people here in Port Arthur that's not working. Can't seem to get jobs. So that would have provided 200 or 300 jobs. Carpenters, plumbers, electricians, whatever. Another thing that I'd be all for would be see that the firemen got their bargaining rights and get that straightened out. I don't see what the city has got to accomplish by denying them. And in fact, I believe they're going to get it in that November 3rd primary.
Mr. Carr, what would be the central issue that you think needs some attention? If you were to become mayor, you'd focus on that.
Well, I believe I'd concentrate on that downtown area, rebuilding that, and put Port Arthur back where Port Arthur belongs.
In Port Acres, Lynn Sue Glass, Channel 6 News.
Jefferson County Commissioners told industrial and agriculture businessmen that lower truckload limits may have to be enforced on county roads. County Judge Richard LeBlanc said that $6.5 million set aside in last year's budget for road and bridge upkeep was just too high. A state bridge survey combined with the county engineer's survey of roads shows that many roads are not designed to carry the maximum truckload limit of 80,000 pounds. And now 3 new load limit categories are being looked at by commissioners. One would cut the 80,000-pound limit to 72,000 pounds. But farmers don't like the lower proposed limit because it would take more trucks to move their crops to market. That means additional cost. Industry people complained about the same problem and cited other factors.
On one product, we qualify the need of about 155 truckloads each month. If we had to shave each one of these to set the 72,000-pound limit that the Commission proposes to put on this highway, it would increase the added truck rate or traffic on this road from 28 to 30 more trucks. To me, that's a safety factor.
A public hearing on the county road weight limit issue will be held on December 14th in the old Jefferson County Courthouse. But between now and then, a Beaumont Chamber of Commerce representative has requested that all parties concerned get together to gain some kind of common ground on the road issue. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
Judge, what changed the court's mind on the architect and the possible bond issue for the jail?
Well, you know, originally we'd stated that we got the long-range planning committee in to help us determine what we needed. We got this information, and then we thought that we would have more time before we actually had to act on this, and then we received notice from the jail commission that we were on their agenda, and I found out that two of the questions were going to be what were our long-range plans for solving the problem and what were our immediate plans. So it was evident that we had to make a decision to go ahead and move on it. So this was, you know, the reason that we decided on the architect. And
hosting a luncheon for small in size but large in stature for Moses. We have Miss Anthony Morgan and Charles George.
Basically, it was just simply to represent the University of Texas Meet. It is an excellent institution that has been built over 4 by the institution. The patients who come there, 72% are from Texas. The others are largely.
And it's Charles Bush, but to me, he's at that same stage. So you're all welcome here. A little problem getting over on I-10, running a little late.
The first defense witness and only witness heard in the courtroom today was the 34-year-old defendant. Why?
But when you look at this unusual case, and we know that every one of those jurors has heard and read something about this case, and we know what happened. At least we've read all the evidence and we've seen everything. They haven't. Theoretically, they have not. We thought it was best to set the record straight and let Vicki tell what happened.
Crying throughout most of her testimony, Vicki Daniels said they started fighting that night because she told Price she had flushed his marijuana down the toilet. He beat her, she got the gun, and fired a warning shot into the ceiling. Price Daniel Jr. then told her he was going to kill her. They struggled again. When asked if she pulled the trigger, she said, "No, I don't remember pulling it." Also today, Judge Leonard Giblin ordered the report of an FBI gun expert turned over to defense lawyers. Previously, only a DPS gun expert's report had been turned over, and the lead defense attorney explained why the FBI report is important.
He said that weapon can be discharged without pulling the trigger. And I don't want to say too much more, but I think that if you were here during the cross-examination of the state's witnesses during their case in chief, we attempted to show, and some people tell me we did so successfully, that Price Daniel trace metal tests showed that he touched that weapon. And it certainly seems consistent with an accidental discharge if that weapon can be fired without a conscious pulling of the trigger.
Testimony will resume at 9 in the morning with Vicki Daniels still on the witness stand. From Liberty, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News. Downtown Liberty was about like it was yesterday, and some observers remarked the trial was like yesterday too. Again, defendant Vicki Daniel was on the witness stand. Today, however, she was cross-examined by prosecutor Carol Wilburn. Like yesterday, there were questions about her marriage to Price Daniel Jr., but the last question was different. Prosecutor Wilburn asked, "Really, Vicki, if you hadn't took a loaded gun, cocked it, and fired it twice, Price Daniel Jr. would be alive today." Before the defendant could answer, defense attorney Jack Zimmerman jumped to his feet and objected on the grounds it was not fact that Vicki Daniel cocked and fired the weapon. Judge Leonard Giblin agreed and would not allow the question to be answered. While Zimmerman was making his objection, however, Vicki Daniel burst into tears and nodded her head.
Cocking and firing the gun indicates an intentional or knowing act, and that act caused the death of Price Daniel Jr. She certainly indicated by nodding that it did. Whether she intended to kill him or not is not necessarily fatal in a murder case. If she intended to cause the conduct that caused his death, she's just as guilty of murder.
The defense is expected to rest its case tomorrow. Defense attorney Jack Zimmerman will explain tonight on The Update. From the Liberty County Courthouse, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Students at Vincent Middle School, more than 1,000 of them this year, may not hum this tune as they go to class, but they have felt the effects of overcrowding. Judge Parker's court order transformed Marshall into a 4th and 5th grade school, leaving Vincent as one of only 3 middle schools. If MacArthur closes next year, only 2 middle schools will remain. This increase in students has forced Vincent to utilize literally every square inch of space, converting closets into teachers' offices and laboratories into classrooms. The 47 regular classrooms have been stretched to capacity, most having 25 or more students. Principal W.T. Hawthorne says teachers and students have adjusted in an excellent manner, but problems do remain.
We have the same number of administrative personnel and counselors to handle over 1,000 students that we had with 700. So sometimes there has to be a waiting line for the administrators and counselors to get to the students to take care of their needs. We've had an increase in the conflicts between students.
And the lone counselor at Vincent says she cannot establish the proper rapport with students.
We don't feel like that we are doing as an effective a job as we could in the situation if we had more help.
The situation at Amelia is a stark contrast to Vincent. Parker's order has removed 4th and 5th grades from the elementary schools, and with the decrease in students, Amelia was forced to close one wing. Here there are no crowded classrooms, no packed hallways, only silence. And Principal Sidney Callum says new programs are being devised to utilize the excess space.
We have a learning center that we're setting up for the 3rd grade on our 2nd level here.
So while Vincent Middle School is overcrowded, this wing at Amelia is unused. A wing that had seen years of life is now void. The sounds of children gone. Scott Lawrence, Channel 6 News.
Thinking about the holiday season probably turns your thoughts to your childhood and family. This holiday season, some area children won't be making memories like these. The Department of Health and Human Resources is experiencing an acute shortage of foster parents in the Triangle.
We feel like one of the reasons could be the budget cuts. A lot of people are not getting as much financial help as they were in the past.
Foster children are youngsters under court care while their parents work out problems at home. They range from newborn to age 17. Foster parents must be married with a stable home established. The matchup of the two brings many rewards when foster parents and children are brought together.
I guess the love is the first thing, the sharing, the being able to share love with them and seeing them grow. And some seem like they've received help from us and the sharing, and it's helped our children to grow and to learn to share their love.
Being a foster parent is giving of yourself to help a youngster through a rough spot in life. It's also the receiving of satisfaction from making a positive contribution to a child and society. It's a contribution you can make by calling 835-3751 in Beaumont, 883-3085 in Orange, or 983-5131 in Port Arthur. Roger Daniel, Channel 6 News.
County Judge Richard LeBlanc and 3 other county commissioners toured the jail Monday. It was the first time the county officials had viewed the jail since it was occupied in September. At this time, the $10 million facility holds 384 inmates, 41 more than it was designed to hold. Judge LeBlanc doesn't deny the fact that additional jailers are needed, but says he and the commissioners are opposed to hiring new employees.
The sheriff is requesting 33 additional personnel, and that's
astronomical number of folks. I'm not saying he doesn't need them, but it's just hard for us to digest that many people. Costs on a yearly basis would be probably close to $700,000, and we really don't have $700,000 at this point.
To date, the county jail does not meet state jail standards because it is overcrowded and understaffed. One way to at least relieve overcrowded conditions would be to complete this expansion area in the jail. LeBlanc says commissioners are already working on that.
We've instructed our architects to complete the rendition on that section, which would be another 150 prisoners. We will meet at 1:30 this coming Monday with our architects on their plans for remodeling this building here that we're in, the old courthouse, and also the completing of the jail facility.
The county judge says there may be one other solution to overcrowding. He says he understands from talking with Sheriff Culbertson that 85% of the inmates in jail are awaiting trial. So commissioners will soon meet with criminal judges to see if some prisoners can't be moved through the justice system more quickly. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
The number one hazard of home heaters is in installation. With more homes being built without fireplaces, more people are buying fireplaces that you can install yourself. This particular brand is called a heatilator. One problem with the heatilator is the glass door. You might think that any glass door will work, but it won't. Each fireplace has a certain kind of glass door that will fit. Otherwise, it could be a fire hazard. Another popular heater, because it's so economical, is the wood-burning stove. Without proper installation of the ventilation pipe, these stoves can get so hot they'll actually turn red. Then you'll have a fire that you can't control. Electric heaters have always been popular because they're portable, and most of them switch off automatically when they turn over. But put them too close to something flammable, and the whole house could burn down. Approximately 2,000 people across this country die in their homes from fires caused by home heaters. One of the worst kind of home heaters is one like this one, a space heater. The Beaumont Fire Department estimates that approximately 40% of all the homes in Beaumont have a space heater. People go out and buy the space heaters and they don't know a lot about them. What could you tell a person about a space heater? What should they do?
First of all, they should look for an approved type of heater, whether it's space heater or any type of heater, such as UL, Underwriters Laboratory approved. Then they should take time to read the operating instructions and also the proper procedure in installing the heating equipment.
But the best answer to installing any kind of heater may be simply hiring a professional to do it. Whichever way you decide, though, just remember, the best way to keep warm this winter is to have a safe heater to do it by. In Beaumont, Karen Hayes, Channel 6 News. May be simply hiring a professional to do it. Whichever way you decide.